And the disgust at that dishonor, that lack of respect, that just total absence of civility and humanity was, in this country, very strong. And of course people said, how can he get money from the National Council of the Arts, or whatever it was from? And the money was taken away from him. I mean, why should taxpayer money support that kind of disgrace? And similarly, I think the response is the same in many ways to this caricature. How could anybody do anything so uncivilized? And that the same kind of just disgust is aroused, I know, in me at that kind of action. I mean, where are these people's heads? But of course, you have to acknowledge that it's just, the world is just in a terrible state right now, and the tensions are so immense sometimes that people are definitely not thinking straight.
Do you think that this movement is one of the better world, given the current state of the world?
Oh, absolutely, without question.
And what is when you first hear Ezan calling to prayer when you go to Turkey?
Oh, that certainly is the right question to ask, because in many ways that summarizes and condenses the very, very, very strong feeling one gets there of the expression of holiness and the experience of God that you encounter very directly all over Turkey.
How about what did you feel when you visited mosques and see people praying in a corporate way? I mean, they all together. What was your feeling when you see them?
It has to do with, for me in part, it has to do with my response to Islam as a whole, because the obedience and the humility built into the contract, as it were, between humankind and God is very adequately and beautifully represented in the prostrations of the prayer. And it's a hopeful sign, in fact, to see people corporately and collectively worshiping and honoring and humbling themselves to an experience that is, of course, mystery. But it's a humbling that personifies hope and embodies, in the truest sense, hope for the world.
And you taught world religions, and you had exposure to Islam prior to going to Turkey. Did the trip help you understand Islam, Prophet Muhammad, and Muslims in a different perspective, in a better way, in a different dimension?
Oh, of course, because, excuse me, no religion, but Islam in particular, is not one that you can understand intellectually. And I mean that apart from its being lived and apart from its being believed, there's not a lot of dogma and doctrine that you have to absorb for Islam. There's wonderful history you have to absorb, but there's not a lot of memorization of abstruse intellectual points. So until and unless you see Islam, as it were, practiced on the ground, until you walk in those shoes a little bit, I don't think you understand much about how Islam operates, until you know how it feels. And that's what you see in the people who are together kneeling. You look at their faces and you look at their gestures, and you know they are someplace else. And they're in communion with mystery. And that's very moving.
That you visit also schools inspired by Mr. Gulen during your trip in Turkey. And what do you think about them?
Well, I think we ought to import them and start up about 5,000 of them in the United States, for example. They seem to get an excellent education. The kids that we came across were noticeably vivacious and polite, a rare combination, and they were stimulated. They seemed quite intellectually stimulated. They seemed to love being at school. And that's something we could use another dose of here in America, especially in that age group.
Do you have any memories that you want to share about the schools, your personal experience?
I remember visiting a school, I think it was right outside Istanbul, where the children gathered afterwards to, it was the end of the day, and they gathered to salute the Turkish flag and sing, I think they sang a nationalist song. And I remember thinking at that moment, I can't imagine that happening in America, really. You know, we don't even say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. There was that was a very striking moment to me, not because of anything it showed me about Gulen schools. I imagine they have to do that in every school. But it sure showed me something about the strength of the state over there, and how the state, you know, and watching a woman passing into a university gate having to take her scarf off, it sure shows the heavy hand of the state and how it operates in Turkey.
And is there anything that you want to share with us beyond these questions?
Oh, I'd like to wax poetic, as probably everybody does, about what a wonderful time I had and how I can't wait to go back and how I think I'll move over there for a couple of years. And what a pleasure it has been to make so many new friends who are just such good people that it radiates out from them and makes them a pleasure to be around. Yourself included.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.